Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Don't Call Me Skinny. I am doing something a little different. I'm literally recording this from my bed on Thursday night, which is crazy. But I ended up having a phone call this afternoon, and the day just kind of got away from me, and I'd rather have something than nothing for Friday No Filter. So welcome to another episode. This is Friday No Filter. And if you did not yet go back and listen to my interview podcast with Philip Pape, we did kind of this little exchange. It was a little different than I've ever done before, but we took essentially one topic and we came from two different angles. So I came from the emotional angle on his podcast, and he came from the data side on emotional eating on my podcast. So if you haven't had a chance to go check it out, his show is linked in my show notes. So if you aren't familiar with his podcast, it's called Wits and Weight. You can go check it out. The link's in my show notes. But that being said, I just wanted to have a conversation about why this process is so much bigger than one piece, right? So many times we come from, or we come at the health angle or come forward the health angle. I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say there, but we come at this from like one specific side. It's like, oh, I just need to lose weight. Oh, I just need better macros. I just need better training, right? And we don't consider the emotional side. And then other times it's like, I just need to have more patience. I just need to have more grace with myself. And we don't take the data into consideration. And I think that this is why this process is so cohesive, because we have to take both sides. So for instance, we have to consider the emotional side, right? Like I need to consider my previous dieting experience. I need to consider the way I think and feel in my food relationship when it comes to health. On the flip side, I need to understand the data side. What does my recovery look like? What is my weight doing? What are my macros? And how does that affect and play a role into the emotional side of this? Okay. And the reason I'm kind of talking about that specifically, it's kind of funny. It's not super funny, but TikTok is a wild place. I'm just going to say that. I think I've said that before, but TikTok is a pretty wild place. And there was a little bit of a heated discussion yesterday on my page about ice cream eating, if you will. And I'm under the guise of like, just because you can eat something every day doesn't mean you should. Also, like, hey, if you save space for a sweet treat every day, that's awesome, right? Now, it stems from a TikTok that I made with my kid the night prior, who was asking for ice cream, which is a common question in my house. Can we have ice cream tonight? Can we have ice cream tonight? My kids like a snack typically around 8 o'clock. Can we have ice cream tonight? And I said no. And he's like, but we haven't had ice cream in 3 to 4 days, maybe more. And he's like, I just want some ice cream. I'm like, okay, that's fine. We don't need it tonight. Like, let's find something else to eat. Like, it doesn't mean you can't have any snacks. I'm just saying no ice cream. Right. And I had this other mom come on and tell me how I'm going to cause food trauma for my kid because I'm telling them no when they want something. And I'm like, well, if my kid came and said, can we do crack cocaine? I'm not going to say yes. Not that I'm comparing ice cream to crack, but it's just the principle of, again, just because we can do something doesn't mean that we need to do it every day. Okay. And so this kind of plays into this whole data versus emotional side, meaning this particular parent was saying, hey, if I leave space for ice cream every single day and my kid wants ice cream every single day, why can't they have it? Like, they should be allowed to have it, right? If this is something that we leave space for every day. I am a little bit more under the guise of, I grew up at home that had no fucking boundaries, that didn't tell me no, and I have a food problem. I had a food problem, right? I grew up with a food problem. I entered my adulthood with a food problem, and it did not end until I had to actively make a choice to realize, hey, I don't actually need ice cream every day. And the point that this mom was making is like, the ice cream didn't make you fat. No, but the problem is the 3,000 calories prior to the ice cream is what did it, right? Which also means that just because we can have something, even if we allot for it, doesn't mean that we need to be eating something or a treat every single day. Now, there is a point where I do have my clients build in, hey, if a sweet treat is your thing, let's leave it. Let's make sure it stays in, right? Build it in your day. Oftentimes what I find though is the sweet treat changes. Some days it's M&Ms. Other days it might be ice cream. Other days it might be a Reese's peanut butter cup. Other days it might be, right? Oftentimes that sweet treat shifts and adjusts and changes. The size changes, the calorie allotment changes, all the things change, right? Now, maybe that's not your story. Maybe your story is like literally just give me my fucking bonbons and milk every single night before I go to bed. Hey, great. But also understanding how that much sugar before you go to bed is going to potentially affect your sleep cycle, right? Because we have to take into consider blood sugar, and we have to take into consider cortisol. We have to consider all these things. And I've actually had this conversation with a current client of mine where she likes her sweet treat at night. And I said, cool. We either have to push up the sweet treats, or we have to cut back on how much we're having, because this is why we wake up at 2 a.m. and cannot go back to bed. Okay. And so there comes this, which is right? And I don't know if there is an answer, but this is what I know. And this is my own personal take from this piece. I grew up in a home where dinner was literally a fat and a carb. Then there were potato chips. Then there was ice cream. Then there was popcorn. Then there was all these other snacks that came out. And I understand maybe in her home, that's not how that's going. But I'm also going to say in her home, she has restricted food because she has been on her own weight journey. Okay. So at some point she was considerably overweight. As she told me, she lost 119 pounds, which is awesome for her. Very happy that she was able to achieve that. Okay. But that didn't come without saying no to things. And so in order to get the result that you want, at some point you're going to have to say no, whether it's to portion, whether it's to the thing itself. You're going to have to shift away. You're going to have to modify. You're going to have to adjust. That's the problem. And it's not about the fact that, you can't have ice cream every day or that kind of a thing. It's just a matter of teaching my kids that just because you can doesn't mean you need to. Now, when my kids become adults and they want to fucking eat ice cream every night, hey, I can't control that. What I'm hoping for my children is that just because they can't have ice cream every night doesn't mean they need to have ice cream every night. And that is my hope for them, because I don't want them to constantly feel like they have to have a snack, or that they have to have ice cream, or that it has to be this or that. That's just my take, right? That's my take. And this is where the emotional meets the data, because per the data, I could build that in every day. But emotionally, how does that affect my life? Doing it every single day. It becomes almost like I don't want to call it a crutch, but I can do what I want because I can do it. And I don't really like to live under the guise of those rules when it comes to food. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can doesn't mean you need to. And so I think that, it'd be like saying, you can have a beer every night or 3 beers every night if you build them in. Okay, if you build it in, you could have, I used to do this with Weight Watchers, before the minis came out, and I lived in Alaska when I did Weight Watchers originally. And in Alaska, they don't have minis. They didn't have minis. And so I would literally buy a small flurry, and that was like 15 points. It was like half of my day, more than half my day in points. So that means just because I can do it means I should do it. Right? Like that's how she's saying that. So, I could build in ice cream at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but that's not going to help me in the long run. Now, if every once in a while I want to have some ice cream, great. And my kids did have ice cream the day after this whole thing happened. So that's the wild thing about it. It's just like, okay. Sorry, I'm yawning. Not any different when I record during the day, apparently. But sorry, this really hurt your feelings. And it's interesting because I did talk to my kids about it. I was like, yeah, this is what she said. And she's, my daughter's like, I think people are overusing the word trauma. I don't think being told no for ice cream is traumatic to me personally. Okay, great. At 16, you can articulate that. My 12-year-old, who was the original one that I made the TikTok with, he was like, we already know that you might say no because you've already set this expectation for us. So it's like a 50-50 shot. Like maybe you say yes, maybe you say no. Like, why not try? Right? So again, it's just wild. But this is how data and emotions really tie in together, and why this process has to be a cohesive thing. This cannot be just, hey, here's your macros, here's your training. And it can also not just be, give yourself more grace and patience and you'll feel better. It is a collective thing that we have to be looking at. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode from my bed. Maybe it's a little weird. I don't know. But if you did, if you got something from this, please share, screenshot it, share it to your socials, review it so that I get pushed out into that algorithm. Cause again, I'm only word of mouth. So the sooner you do that and the more you do that for me, the more people can listen to my podcast from bed. Just kidding. All right. Happy Friday. I hope you guys have an awesome day and a great weekend. Don't forget, get up, get moving, and have a good day. Don't forget to stay basic.